Should you move to the southwest or the southeast portion of Salt Lake County? Today, I'm going to do a comparison of the two south ends of Salt Lake County. I'm going to talk pricing of homes, pros and cons of each, and what to expect living in both. So let's jump into it. Okay, so let's make sure we're on the same page. When I'm talking about the southwest portion of the valley, the cities I'm covering are Bluffdale, Harriman, Riverton, and South Jordan, which includes Daybreak. And then for the southeast portion of the valley, I'm talking about Sandy and Draper. So for perspective, we're talking about approximately 90th south and down to Point of the Mountain that I'm going to be talking about for each portion. And I just wanted to make sure you understood the cities involved in this video. So the first thing to know is traffic. Now, I am not a fan of the traffic on either side of the valley, the east or the west, but I do have to say the west side is worse, in my opinion, than the east side most of the time. And I just had a conversation last week with somebody who lives in kind of like the Rosecrest area of Harriman, and she was trying to get to Riverton, and she said it's about a 4 or 5 mile drive in the morning, and it took her 40 minutes. Now, keep in mind, Bangor just finished being redone, so you don't have all the stoplights, and you'll see here in this video some of Bangor being finished. Now they do still have it down and construction still going, but at least you're not stopping and starting and stopping and starting and all of that. But that's a significant amount of time for morning commute to take to go 4-ish miles and taking 30 to 40 minutes to do that. And one of the reasons for that is when you look at the west side of Salt Lake County, from Interstate 15 to about Bullfrog Spas area of Daybreak, so almost as far west as you can build, you're talking about 9-10 miles compared to the east side, which is not that much different, but you're about 7 miles from the freeway to about Wasatch Boulevard, where it ends at the base of the mountain. Of course, you can continue to go up to the ski resorts, but that's not part of this video. Okay, so I wanted to come up here and kind of give a bird's eye view. So you can see Interstate 15 right down the center there. And if you look out west, you can see from Interstate 15, well, first of all, here's the downtown Draper, the point that's being built on the west side of 15, but you can see it just keeps going and going. So there's a lot more room to build and continue growing out west, just looking at it from here. But as you pan back, so again, there's Interstate 15. Looking to the east, there's just not as much, we'll say, depth from 15 east compared to 15 west, because you do have the mountains over there with Snowbird, Alta, all the canyons, Park City up there. So this just kind of gives a better idea of what you're looking at with space. So there's just a lot of growth going on the west side of Salt Lake County, and not a lot of main roads to take people from the west over to Interstate 15. You have to use surface streets or Bangor Highway. So, you know, most people are traveling on 123rd or 126th out there, 134th, 114th south, all of those. And most of those roads are 1 or 2 lanes going east to west. And then, like I said, Bangor is just now starting to be expanded on the south end of the valley to 3 lanes. So you have all that congestion of people living out in all the new construction area, and you're going to hear how much is for sale out there. I was shocked when I saw the numbers, to kind of give you perspective of how much it's growing out there and contributing to traffic. Now, the same is true for the east side as far as getting from Interstate 15 east to Wasatch Boulevard. You're mostly taking surface streets like 106, 114th, 123rd. Some people will go north to 215 and catch it there, but generally speaking, you are taking surface streets. But that brings me to my next point, which is the west side is still growing, still has lots of room to be built. And the east side is pretty established. It's, you know, been homes in the 50s and the 60s or even earlier. And so there's not a lot of room to continue growing and have that population jump like you have on the west side. Because the east side is generally speaking older and more established, you'll notice things like office buildings, retail shops, all of that, houses, they are generally older than what you will see on the west side of town. Now, I keep saying generally because there is not an all or nothing. There is still things being torn down and rebuilt on the east side. There are still old farm houses like in Riverton on the west side. So just as a general rule of thumb for this video is what I'm talking about. So let's talk outdoor and activity. If you're living on the southwest or the southeast side, both sides of the county are doing a great job at putting in trail systems through the neighborhood. So Daybreak is a great example, paved trails that you can walk, run, street bikes, things like that through. And even when you're driving around Harriman, Riverton, Bluffdale, you'll see those through subdivisions. And the same is true on the east side. However, on the east side, you are closer to the mountains. So obviously that brings some perks of being able to hike up in the mountains on the trails. If you're a skier, you're a lot closer to ski resorts and less of a commute time. And you have all those benefits if you are a mountain person on the east side that you're not going to have on the west side. Okay, so before I jump into talking about housing, I want to tell you, for over 20 years, I have always lived on the southeast side of Salt Lake County. That's where I know, that's where I'm familiar with, and I have always loved the southeast portion of Salt Lake County. But the more time I'm spending out west, the more I like it and the more I could see myself moving out there. And one of the biggest reasons is these cities have done a phenomenal job of getting businesses in there that are different. Like I was just saying to one of my kids about a week ago, when you come to Draper, you kind of have the same couple of restaurants to eat. Most of them are chain restaurants or fast food. You go out to like Riverton that I'm going to show you, and you have all different restaurants. You have not just chain restaurants, you have unique restaurants. And the shopping is the same way. All throughout these cities, you are seeing them build different varieties of things. You're seeing coffee shops, you're seeing doggy daycares, you're seeing mom and pop gyms and Pilates studios, just a wide range of things. Now, I do know people who have looked at retail space on the east side and they say it's so expensive. So I don't know if that has something to do with it. You just have so much more options on the west side all throughout the areas with all these buildings popping up for restaurants, shopping, businesses going in. Like it's just a nice area because of that diversity. Okay, so let's talk about houses and affordability. Generally speaking, the west side is going to be more affordable, but you can still find multi-million-dollar houses throughout the entire west side. Now, I'm not great at memorizing things, so you will see me looking at my notes through here, but let's first talk about Bluffdale. Bluffdale right now with active listings are ranging anywhere from $339,000 up to almost $3.3 million. And there are currently 51 active listings in the city of Bluffdale. Now, when I'm talking about listings, I should back up and tell you it's single family homes, condos, and townhouses. Now, the average sales price in Bluffdale for September was just barely over $624,000. Okay, and jumping over to Riverton, homes are ranging anywhere from $325,000 up to over $3.6 million. And there are 87 active listings on the market in Riverton. For September, the average sales price was almost $631,000. Okay, and here is where you're going to see the big jump and be able to see what I'm talking about with new construction and more availability for building new things. Jumping over to Harriman, homes are ranging anywhere from $330,000 up to $4.9 million, and there are 352 active listings on the market in Harriman. And in September of 2025, the average sales price was over $626,000. Now, I do want to say in these cities, Bluffdale, Riverton, Harriman, and South Jordan, some of these higher priced homes have really large properties. So 1 acre, 2 acre lots, 3/4 acre lots. You have horse property. So all of those go into these prices as well. Okay, and then jumping over to South Jordan, this is the highest amount of listings that are active right now in the south end of the valley at 393 active listings. And those listings range anywhere from $320,000 up to almost $3.5 million. Now, if you're not familiar with Salt Lake County, South Jordan does include Daybreak. So that's why you have so much building going on in South Jordan. Is a lot of it is happening in the Daybreak area, but you also tend to have higher prices out in Daybreak and the horse properties in South Jordan. Okay, so let's jump to the southeast portion of the valley, and we're going to talk about Sandy first. Now, Sandy does have some really large houses, a lot of horse property around the Bell Canyon area, but they also have a diverse amount of other houses like you kind of see on the west side of town. And you'll see in some of the video that I'm going to show, the further east you go, the bigger the houses get, the more land. You have Pepperwood that's still doing new construction in other areas. But at the time of this recording, there are 200 active listings in Sandy, and the prices range from $275,000 up to almost $5.3 million. And the average sales price in September of 2025 was almost $825,000 in Sandy. Okay, so finally, let's talk about Draper. Now, there are 2 counties in Draper. If you go to the top of Suncrest, there is a Utah County portion of Draper. So for this, I excluded Utah County because this video is about Salt Lake County. So for the Salt Lake County portion of Draper, there are currently 140 houses actively listed, and they range anywhere from $325,000 up to $6.5 million. And then in September of 2025, the average sales price was the highest that we're going to talk about, with being $1,071,000, just shy of that was the average sales price for Draper in September of 2025. Now, just like Sandy, you do find some of the old farmhouses with land, horse property, and you still are seeing some new construction going on in Draper. Typically, that's going to be farmers that are selling off portions of their land, and people are subdividing it and building new construction, but you still can find new construction in Draper. So I hope you found the video helpful. If you're thinking about making a real estate move, I'd love to connect with you. Shoot me a text or give me a call. That is the best way to reach me, but as always, make it a great day.